Okay. Let's have a little catch up and see how, check your understanding of where we are. I'm aware that we have rushed through it a bit. So, are you feeling all right about it? About the learning? Yeah. This is going to be very intense for the first 2 weeks, and then it will calm down a little bit, and then for understanding markets, which is the computer simulation, that's another intense burst. So you've got kind of curve of activity. But I thought, my thoughts as course leader for you, you're coming into this country unfamiliar with the surroundings. You don't know each other. I want you to get to know each other quite quickly, get to know me quite quickly and the course team. And this intensive way of working can help us to do that, can't it? And the downside, if you like, the bad thing about it is, I don't know about you, but I'm tired. Tired. So keeping the energy level up is going to be quite challenging. I want you also to think about your assignment and try to get that done, you know, during the course of the week, or at least next week and the week after, when you've got time, so that then you don't have so much pressure at the end when the deadline comes. So it's about keeping the momentum going. We've given you the knowledge that you'll need to fill in your assignment. What you have to do is to read yourself around the subject. So get the book, look at it online, the Marion Burke-Wood book on planning. Look at other books on marketing, planning, marketing. Hi, morning. Morning. And see how you go with your own studies. I'm also building in every week. There'll be an opportunity to meet me in the cafe downstairs today on a Thursday at lunchtime. I'll just sit there with a cup of coffee, and you can come and talk to me. Just come and speak to me and tell me how you're getting on. As your course leader, it's my responsibility to know if things are going wrong. So do tell me if you're not happy about anything, or tell me if somebody else, you know, if you know somebody who's not coping, let me know early, because there are lots of support things that can happen. Okay? So let's just have a look at the beginning of the assignment that you've got to do. Let's look at it. You're taking the role of an independent marketing consultant, so you don't need to spend a lot of time describing your destination. We're looking at page 5 at the moment in the booklets. And here, the 10 categories, the 10 numbers here, are the 10 sections of your report. So I've tried to keep you to those sections, because marketing plans, I've made marketing plans during my career for my boss, for the people who I work for, and they do like a structure. They like to be able to see where we are with it, and to be able to flick into this part and then move to that part. So any supporting information, put into the appendix, put as an extra at the back. Make sure that what you've got in your report is the analysis, so that I'm not reading through lots and lots of description, just as we did yesterday with Viv, Tom, and we'll do again this afternoon with Viv. So the first section is the where are we now, using the Pestel framework, and on page 6 we go through it, around about 1,000 words. It doesn't matter, I'm going to totally forgive you if they are 800 words, don't mind at all. I don't mind if there's 1,100, you know, give or take, it doesn't matter. Use tables and charts, because charts and tables aren't included in the word count, and they can give you some good information. Now, I haven't really talked to you, and I know that Jeanette and Debbie have talked to people about plagiarism. And it's really important. Every year I have to speak to students about acknowledging the source of the information that they've taken. And I think there is a cultural thing here, because in your country, perhaps, it is it's okay to reproduce word for word something that has already been written. In the British system, the quality system that we operate here doesn't allow large amounts of text to be taken from other sources. You can use other sources for information. So the background, you read it, you get to know it, but if you write it word for word, paragraph by paragraph, you need to tell us where it's from, and you don't need to use too many of their words. Use your own words. Using your own words is fine, but what we don't want is you to just take a whole chunk and put it into your report. Two good reasons for that. One, it stops you being creative. It kind of suppresses your own critical faculties, your own ability to think for yourselves. It stops that if you're just saying, oh, Mr. Smith thinks it's really good, so I'll just push in everything from Mr. Smith. That's one thing. The second thing is it's a bit lazy. Sorry to say it, but I want you to put your energy into your analysis, your own analysis. Use several different sources. So you're using this book and this journal article and this online article and knitting them together into a new garment, completely new. So make sure that you're identifying your sources. I don't mind you using quotes, but short, and tell me where they're from. Use the Harvard referencing system to tell us where they're from. Okay. So that's a lot of that will be in the market audit, because you're looking at various places for your secondary information. So useful information on trends, monetary values, and I want the specifics. I want to know that their national gross national income is 5 trillion, if that's dollars or whatever. I want to know the actual numbers. That's really interesting. So you know where you're operating. You know the broad area that you're operating in. The next section is your customers. And this is what we're doing at the moment, your customers, the different ways to group them into a segmentation matrix. And in each of your reports, there'll be a page that is your segmentation matrix. And we'll go through that a little bit more detail in a little while. I want to know, and I've said how many words? 200 words on competitors. The third section. Not a lot, because basically it's going to be what we're doing today, the competitors, which is looking at the main regions or cities that compete and plotting them onto a positioning map, I think, and a little bit of narrative to talk me through that and justify your selection of those places. So you don't need to go into great detail on competitors, but you need to make me believe that you know what you're talking about. Then you'll go on 50 words, nothing much at all, on internal. So hardly any words at all, because you can't possibly answer that section really unless you're working there yourself. So this is, you'd have to make assumptions about what your internal strengths of your destination are. You'll get some of it from your secondary research, but a lot of it will be assumptions. You have to demonstrate that you understand how to analyse strengths and weaknesses, and we did a little bit of that yesterday, SWOT. And then you summarise that into 2 or 3 key things that make your destination different. And that's section 5. which is the key takeouts. So you're just giving me the most important elements that will make people visit your destination. Again, 200 words, you're going to be quite brief in how you describe that, but you're going to make me believe that you know what you're talking about. Then we're talking about targeting, selecting our target segment. That's section 6. Analyze the segments that you've identified and pick just one for your primary segment. And you're constructing a positioning map in that section for your customers, how they see you. We'll talk about that today. The strategic planning. We talked about strategic planning yesterday. Whether you're operating a differentiation strategy, a cost-benefit strategy, or a focus strategy, and how you're going to position your product portfolio using ANSOF. So I'll probably want to see an ANSOF matrix in your report. And because we're marketers, we're looking to provide a value statement. So a value proposition. The value proposition, 50 words, a very short statement that sums up your brand. It tells you what your personality is. So you can be quite creative here. I would like to see you thinking about what your primary target segment would like to hear about you as a country, as a destination. And by now I think you're talking about a specific part of your country, maybe even a city by this stage. And then the last two sections are about the marketing mix, about what we do every day in our marketing department. So they're shorter term objectives, they're shorter term activities. How do we promote it? How do we package the product so that it appeals to our primary target segment? And throughout these sections, right from section 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10, you're talking about your primary target market only. So one or two recommendations for each of those 7 elements of the marketing mix. After you've made 2 or 3 recommendations for every one of those 7, you pick your favourite, you pick one only, and give me a little bit more detail. Again, I'm trying to copy a real marketing plan, but for the purposes of the academic assessment, I don't want to make you go into great detail, because the real marketing plan, I've done them pages and pages and pages on each element of the mix. That's not possible for you. It wouldn't be fair to ask you to do it. But what I want you to do is to see how you will be asked to do it if you get into that sort of business when you graduate. So for one, give me some more detail. I want to know when you'll be doing the activities and over the next 12 months how you're going to plot your plan for one of the elements of the marketing mix. Explain your recommendations and again focused on your primary target market. And then finally, we see whether we have achieved our objectives, how you can measure achieving your objectives. So we talked about objectives yesterday. It's about what you want to achieve. So if you want to increase the number of inquiries, how do you know that you've achieved that? The inquiries go up. It's not that difficult, but I want you to just put your minds to it so that it concludes your report. Because increasingly in the marketing profession, we're asked to measure success really, really carefully. In the old days, we used to be able to just say, let's spend $750,000 on an advertising campaign, and then we'd say, oh yeah, that was really good, wasn't it? Yeah, people really loved it. But actually, nobody else inquired about our product because they thought it was great and creative, but they didn't actually come back and buy our stuff. So you need to be able to measure the success of things for it to be worthwhile. So we'll mark all of that as a whole document. We're not going to mark each section by section. You need to know that as well. So you could do a brilliant section 1, but if you miss out section 9, you're going to significantly lose marks. So we'll mark the whole thing as it comes to me as a marketing plan, which is kind of interesting for you, isn't it? We'll talk about it when you've produced your draft, and we talk about how you've done on that. We will mark it against the criteria that are in your book. A few pages further on. This is what I'll be doing. I'll have this open when I'm marking your assignment, and I'll be circling each section where you are on it. So read through what they need for 70% or more and try to achieve that. That way, if you fall a little bit short, you'll still be in the 60s, so you'll still do really well on this. If you aim high, don't look at the 40%, just pass and think, oh, I'll just get away with doing that, because you might fall short and fail. And people do every year, sadly. So don't let yourself do that. Go up here. You're clever. You're intelligent people. Aim for this box. You know you can do it. So that's a little bit of a summary of where we are with the assignment. The other thing to say, if anybody didn't hear yesterday, we were planning to visit, and I've put a note on Blackboard, we were planning to visit a local company tomorrow, but in fact, that's going to be postponed until the end of November, just before your deadline, just to give you a little bit of context, go for a walk around a real business. We will do it, but we'll do it later. So tomorrow, you don't have any classes. You have a day to do either relax or work on your assignment or do something. Because I've put you through it, I know, this week. It's been hard, hasn't it? So tomorrow, we are not seeing each other for the first time for ages. So we're already on section 10. Yeah, do. For the minutes that I'm trying to locate my slides, talk to each other and discuss how you're going to approach your assignment, or just have 5 minutes while I find my slides. I can't find them. managed to find them. Thank you for your patience. Market positioning we're talking about now. We're talking about market positioning both in terms of section 3, your competitors, and also section, where are we? Which is the section that you're putting in? Section 3 and section 6. So section 6 is where you're going to be putting your positioning map. So market positioning, where you are in the market, is two things. It's either the space that we occupy in the market, where we are in terms of against our competitors, and the attitudes and belief we want our customers to have about our brand. And if you see here, that's my source. Rice and Trout have given us that information. You can get the same or similar information from several sources. So if you want to, you can change, you can read several different textbooks and use different sources of information. But people in marketing generally agree that market positioning is about those two things. Is that wrong? So, to be effective, and the word effective means both that it's the best way to do things, and it's economically viable. Effective market positioning needs you to identify those differences that make you attractive, and that you have the competency as an organisation to sustain. So positioning maps show up the different positions of products or brands or whole organisations or countries or places as they are perceived by their target market. So it's as your customers see them. And what you have to do when you're doing your positioning maps, this is important that you think about this when you're constructing your positioning maps. The two things at the side axes for your grid have to mean something to your customers. So you're not just making it up. It will flow from the justification and the arguments that you've given to us throughout the earlier part of your report. When you come to section 6, you'll know what important things your customers are looking for. So you'll be able to put, if you're buying a sound system, then you'll know that people need excellent sound quality and styling, because you put it in your living room very often. So you need it to look good as well as sound good. So I've given you some brands in that market. And we can argue about where they should go, but you'll be able to populate that from data that you find as well. So, don't just make it up, and make it quite specific to your destination. So, range of shops and nice beaches or no beaches is kind of a little bit wide. So you try to be a bit more specific when you're putting your axes, plotting your axes on your grids, if you can. The key is to be clear about it. Successful positioning is about clarity, being clear about what you're offering and where you are. Being consistent across all the different parts of your message. So if you say that you value people, like the Body Shop, in the very first lecture we had a picture of the Body Shop saying that they're selling hope. And well, if they treated their staff badly and didn't pay them properly and made them work incredibly long hours in a sweatshop type of environment, we wouldn't believe them when they said that they value people. They would, so consistency across everything in the business is important. So if in France, for example, the French, I love the French, and my best friend is French. I have a friend in France and she is French, and I love her to pieces, I really do. But the French have a reputation of being a little bit arrogant and not being friendly, immediately friendly. And sometimes the Parisian French, the people who live in Paris, sometimes have the reputation of not wanting to talk any other language. Now, if we're thinking about examples, I think the British have the reputation of being very formal, don't they? Did you hear anything about what it's like living in Britain before you came? What did they tell you? Did they say that you'd be going, good morning, good morning, how do you do? Right. How do you do? And the answer to how do you do is, how do you do? It's weird, isn't it? Makes no sense. So standoffish a little bit. Terribly, formal cups and saucers and scones. I gave you scones yesterday. The classic, oh, I wish I'd got a picture, is afternoon tea and sitting there formally, sitting and talking about the weather. The British are supposed to talk about the weather all the time. We do actually talk about the weather all the time. So some of the stereotypes are true, but be consistent across all of your areas so that the message is believable. Being competitive, understanding your competitors and being able to fight, like we said at the beginning, to know your enemy. You have to be able to see where you are in the marketplace. If you're a market leader, you have to defend that position. If you're a market follower, you have to be looking for little opportunities, be quick to move, flexible. Credibility means it's believable. It's the same thing. Credibility, we believe it. So clarity, consistency, competitiveness and credibility, successful positioning. What is your value proposition? What in marketing jargon, we call it the USP, the unique selling proposition. What can you sell it on? What will make people really connect with you? For the benefits of consistency and clarity, some companies concentrate on one single benefit. So, Asda, cheap prices, Asda price. John Lewis, a big department store in the UK, never knowingly undersold. If you go to Barker's Pool, just by the City Hall, opposite that is a big department store in Sheffield, very well respected family company for many years. My son works for them, and each member of staff has a share in the organisation. They're a partnership, so he's called a partner. He's not called an employee, and he has shares in their profits. So it's in his interests for them to make a profit. So that's what John Lewis is known for. It's partnership approach to management and never knowingly undersold. So this USP is reinforced, so we believe it, we hear it, we know what they're talking about. We see their logo and we think of that value. We think of what they're giving us. So it's that automatic, that's what... so sometimes companies drift away from their original values, they drift, and we can talk about repositioning. So you can do that through the marketing mix, as well as through strategic repositioning. You can do it from, if Panasonic was seen to be poor sound quality but quite modern, that's their current position. They want to move up towards excellent sound quality. So how are they going to do that? You might look at your customers, ask them what's really important, move it that way, and then move it through the, sorry, I'll go back to that previous one. Then you go to the marketing mix. You change your product, don't you? You change maybe how people can access it. you go online to make it more modern and accessible. Because you're moving from the current perception of your product into the desired perception of your product. So you have to do that over time through your strategic planning and your market communications planning. So the critical steps are the segmentation of your customers, targeting those customers who will return the most benefit, and then position yourself in their minds so that every time they see that Gucci handbag, they see what Gucci stands for: high luxury. And I have arrived as a successful, rich human being if you buy Gucci. I've got a handbag here that, does anybody recognise this brand? This little,
Yes.
yeah, you see? It is, it's a little dog, isn't it? It's a Radley bag. It was bought for me, so I didn't actually justify the purchase myself, but you see this little dog and you know it's a Radley handbag, and it's a good quality handbag, nice handbag. It's good, it's useful, it's got a little mobile phone pocket. I really need the mobile phone pocket because I lose my mobile phone really easily. So, positioning in the minds of your customers, those are the 3 critical steps. And then you keep your eye on what business you're in. To avoid marketing myopia. You know what myopia is? Short-sightedness. I'm wearing glasses because I'm myopic. My eyes don't see distances. Define your business against what your customers need, not against what you can give them. It's changing the position from, this is what I've got for you, to, what do you need? Let's listen, let's hear, and let's change what we give you to meet your need. Do you see how different that is from the point of view of approach to your customers? And Theodore Levitt wrote a lot about marketing myopia, so read him if you like. Because change is constant. You can't be happy with where you are. You have to move with the times. This is a, do we know what it is? It's a lizard, but it's a chameleon. It's called a chameleon. And it changes colour depending on what the background is. It's a defence mechanism, so it merges into the landscape, so it's constantly, its skin changes colour. Actually, this background should be green, yet light green, shouldn't it? It's totally wrong the way we've done it here. But this little fellow changes with the environment, and that's what I'm asking you to think about. Making changes as the customer, competitive, market, pestle environments change. So your organisation has to change to meet customer needs, which are changing. In the old days, do you remember the days of the original mobile phones? Yeah? They were about this big. So I'd say, this is my mobile phone. Hello, I'm here. Yeah, do you remember that?
Yeah.
I do. Yeah. And you had to have a bag of its own because it was so heavy. Do you remember the days of cameras, video cameras, when you had to take the whole kit over your shoulder going like this? Now they've changed, they've evolved because customers needed different things, and technology, the wider market environment, offered us the opportunity to change products. So organisations have to change and fit customer requirements and keep their customers. So there's a perceptual map for chocolate. Again, looking at high cocoa content, good quality, many flavours or few flavours, because people have said, the customers have said that that's what they want. They want cheap, low cocoa content because it's for kids, it doesn't matter, or high cocoa content, very high quality. So there are different types of chocolates depending on what need you have. So you need to think about that when you're doing your positioning maps. I've given you a couple of examples there. That's the end of the lecture, so let's get